Ladies and gentlemen, Jared George and I, Jason Kuna, are with the inimitable Greg Johnson, and this is Tap After Hours. We're here today to discuss the very serious matter of censorship, specifically the censoring of Greg's latest book, The White Nationalist Manifesto, from the Colossus, Amazon. Will more companies follow, as was the case with Alex Jones? Is this a one-off or the beginning of something much more ominous? We share our super chats, as always, with our guests, and in just a moment, I will pass the baton to my adroit colleague. But I will first say welcome to the program, Greg. Thank you for being here with us today and speaking with us about this breaking news.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping that we can make this the latest outrage, the outrage of the week, that people in the movement can get behind, meme with, troll with, have some fun, because it is kind of outrageous. You can buy the Communist Manifesto, you can't buy the White Nationalist Manifesto. The world's richest capitalist will sell you the Communist Manifesto with free shipping and gift wrap. But my book, The White Nationalist Manifesto, has not only been unlisted from their Kindle Direct Publishing, but even the pages for the print editions have been removed. So they haven't just decided to stop selling it, they have memory holed it. They have made it as if the book doesn't even exist. So people can't even learn of its existence at Amazon.
That is truly. Could you explain exactly what you mean by this? The pages have disappeared, because some people have asked me, what does that mean exactly? And so I wanted to have you explain that. Now, if you log on to Amazon, if you click one of the links that were already out there for Greg's fantastic book, it takes you to a page that just says, "Oops," something like, "Oops, this is gone." Like, "Oops, we misplaced it," rather than, "Oh no, we're actively burning the books and censoring the thoughts, because that's what we don't want." And Greg, you're making a great point about, you have the world's richest capitalist who's willing to sell the Communist Manifesto, and of course that's an anti-white doctrine that keeps white people like us from coming together in the cause of white well-being. So if you could please just maybe just sum up the actual mechanics. In other words, people, if you've purchased the book electronically, that doesn't go away. You still have the book on your Kindle device. We're not quite at that level yet. But what exactly? So someone cannot purchase a physical copy. They cannot purchase an electronic copy. Please speak to that just for a moment, Greg.
Yeah, they can't. You can't purchase my book through Amazon.com. If you do a search for Greg Johnson, The White Nationalist Manifesto, nothing comes up. And Amazon is the world's book marketplace, for better or worse. Certainly now for the worse. And it's akin to basically having the power company cut your lights because they don't like your opinions, or the post office to stop delivering your mail because they don't like your opinions. It really is rather a devastating infringement on the ability to live your life, especially as an author. When big corporations decide, or great big entities decide, that they don't like your politics. So it's a very, very disturbing trend. The deplatforming of people to the right of center is an agenda of corporate America. Corporate America are objectively left wing. I know a lot of free market types want to believe that they're all John Galt's or Hank Reardon's, but they're mostly highly degenerate left-wing globalist types, and they do not want our ideas to circulate, and so they are increasingly shutting it down. And this is the the latest. But let me give you some news, because while I was on the line with Millennial Woes, a couple new emails came in from Amazon, from Kindle Direct Publishing. Hello. I love the informality of it. Hi there. During our review process, we found that the subject matter of the following book is in violation of our content guidelines, which apply to the book, interior, cover image, and our product description. Then follows a list of countercurrents titles. New Right versus Old Right by Greg Johnson. Some Thoughts on Hitler and Other Essays by Ermin Vinson. Son of Trevor Lynch's White Nationalist Guide to the Movies. Trevor Lynch's White Nationalist Guide to the Movies. Greg Johnson, Truth, Justice, and a Nice White Country. Jonathan Bowden, Western Civilization Bites Back. And Spencer Quinn's White Like You. All of these titles have now been memory hold as well. They're gone.
Oh my God. This is exactly, this is infuriating. This is exactly when I went to publish Born Guilty, and I got this little, I had these numerous conversations, because they tried to undermine the process every step of the way, even all the way down to playing this formatting trick with me where I was using their template, but they were still saying that the item was wrong and they wouldn't print it. And it came down to this point where I got into this long conversation with several of these employees at Amazon, which I'm sure, drive little broken down Honda Civics, while the richest man in the world, continues to just pile up his heaps of gold. But yeah, I had these conversations about, what is this content standards? What exactly are you talking about? What are you implementing? And they wouldn't say. And so that is exactly what I feared and anticipated would happen, that they would begin implementing this sort of ambiguous, this sort of nebulous, it's not up to our standards, it doesn't meet our standards, or something like that. In other words, it's not actively anti-white, or it in some way troubles or undermines. And that's something that's really important. Let me just finish that sentence. Troubles or undermines anti-whiteism. And that's something that is extremely important for all of you conservatives out there. Conservatives, I know you're very proud of it. For all of you civnats out there, for all of you alt-lights out there who think that you're going to get away by saying a little bit of anti-white here and a little bit of anti-white there, and then thoroughly denouncing those who openly say we care about white well-being. Well, no, your ideas also get in the way of the realization of anti-white ideas. They also trouble and undermine the realization of their objectives. And so your books too will be censored. Your voice too will be silenced. Your tongue too will be cut out of your mouth. So if you don't stand with us while these things will happen, they'll come for you later. Rest assured, they'll come for you later. This is the exact kind of thing that I knew, and Jared, George, and I, we spoke about when I was having these discussions, and some of the other people that when I was having these discussions I spoke about with, I knew exactly that this is the sort of thing that they would be implementing. Now, I know we have a fundraiser going on for you, I guess a fund drive over at Countercurrents. We want to talk about that today. Jared George has a lot of great topics he wants to get into, so I want to make sure to bring him in here quickly so we can get into some of those. But I just want to absolutely state unequivocally my deepest disgust that this is happening to you, that this is happening to the Countercurrents community. And we all need to stand up now and get shoulder to shoulder like the Spartans of old, with shield laying over top of shield, with spear laying in front of spear, so that these anti-whites cannot come in and clip us off one at a time, as they have successfully done decade after decade after decade after decade. Jared George, I pass it to you.
Well said. And yes, Greg, that is terrible to hear that Countercurrents is being taken down from Amazon. So I did put in, and I will continue to do so in the chat, your latest link about this happening, because it has the Countercurrents fundraiser starting early. So please make sure to check that out. That's in the description, and also directly to this show. We'll put in the Streamlabs link. That's the preferred way, the super chats. And we will be giving portion to Greg today for the Countercurrents fundraiser that I just mentioned. Although Streamlabs, as some of you might have been following the story online, there's questions about that right now. So we'll keep posted on that, but that's not the focus of today's episode. So I do have a few questions, but Greg, just to set the table, some of this might sound obvious, but just to give your whole perspective, why is Amazon more important than, say, Lulu or some other places that one can just buy books? What has been your experience as someone who's a publisher, that Amazon is offering you certain advantages of sharing your book, whereas other platforms don't have the reach that Amazon has?
Well, it's a simple matter of scale. Amazon is the biggest bookseller in the world. They also sell practically everything else that can be put in a box and delivered, plus a lot of digital content. People join Amazon Prime so they don't have to pay separate shipping. They like the convenience of it. I certainly like the convenience of it. But as of this last email that I got on and canceled all outstanding orders at Amazon, and I'm going to mothball my account. I'm no longer going to do .com if they're not going to do business with me, and if they're not going to be straight up and explain to me what the standards are. There are no standards explicitly for what they're doing. I looked at their standards. They have vague standards about offensive content, but they actually say that where they spell out offensive content, they actually explicitly say this doesn't apply to books. So
Yes.
This is an arbitrary decision, even by their own standards. I believe there's some SJW who's on a power eliminate, egged on by, ultimately, it's groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center and probably the Anti-Defamation League that are pulling the strings here. I find this very, very disturbing. You know, they're coming for us all, but this is seriously going to impact my ability to stay afloat as a business.
Yeah, what I was getting at with the go ahead.
Yeah, there's a strange fact about this movement. When PayPal did us in 2017 after Charlottesville, we never got back a number of our smaller monthly donors, and I sort of tore my people, et cetera, and some of them just never came back. And I sort of parodied it. I thought, well, you know, these people basically have the attitude that we'd like to save the white race. We'd like to do something for the cause, but the revolution doesn't take PayPal anymore, so we're just going to use our money to buy stuff on eBay instead. Mm-hmm. And there are people who have the same attitude about books and CDs. It's like, well, I'd like to help out. I'd like to inform myself. I'd like to have good arguments and facts about white identity and white nationalism and so forth. But I can't get it with free 2-day shipping from Amazon, so I'm going to buy the latest book by Danielle Steele or whatever. I don't even know what kind of pap people read today. So that's an astonishing thing to me. There is a pervasive lack of moral seriousness. People want to help when it's convenient, and I'm afraid that we just don't live in times that are going to whip away, beat away, melt away that kind of frivolity that infects the attitudes of even people who want to help. They want to help as long as it's convenient, as long as it can be one click, as long as it will arrive, in 2 days with free shipping and so forth. And they're less interested when it's not convenient. So we're going to have very, very altered times, I think, before that kind of frivolity disappears. And it will disappear eventually, because what's coming down the road for us as a people is far worse than lacking 2-day free shipping, right? So that's sort of the bottom line. What am I going to do about this? Well, I mean, in the short term, tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and see how many more of my books have been pulled. But it looks like there's just a systematic purge going on of countercurrents titles. So anything with white in the title seems to be going. Anything with right in the title seems to be going. That's a lot of our titles, I'm afraid. So we might be left with nothing but a few poetry anthologies and things like that up at Amazon. So what I'm going to have to do is work to get all of our existing ebooks available in Mobi format direct from the Countercurrents site. I'm certainly not going to give Amazon exclusive Kindle rights and things like that. So we'll just sell our stuff as it is, directly sell our existing Kindles. And we're going to have to move to a situation where we do most of our order fulfillment And that's just a lot of work on my part. I was hoping that I could spend the time that I'm going to have to devote to this, writing articles and books and giving speeches and things like that, doing useful work rather than this kind of stuff.
Let me read some super chats really quick, because we already have people who are responding enthusiastically to support the cause, responding with alacrity. Magdalene Parrish super chatting $5 and then followed it up again with another super chat of $5. Thank you very much for those super chats. Didn't write anything. We have Shrimpy with £5 super chatting. I received my copy of Greg's manifesto the day before it was banned. We must continue our fight. Amen. Amen to that, Shrimpy. Well said. Ratapunk super chatting with $10. More banned books. Don't make the black kids angry. Synagogue of Satan. In the Name of Yahweh. Fourth Political Theory. Hunter. Secret relationships between blacks and Jays. Thank you very much for the super chat. And we have a question here from Rambler91 super chatting with $2. Greg, can this be fought in court? And if you could, Greg, you've been around long enough to actually address some of the court cases and how they've turned out, and some of the things you have to deal with when you have discovery and that sort of thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, you can't fight this in court. You know, I first of all, even if the law's on your side, they have more money, right? So I don't have the money to fight it in court. I don't have the time to fight it in court, and I don't think there's a basis for fighting it in court. There aren't any laws on the books, as far as I know, that could allow us to have legal recourse. Not yet.
No, precisely. I mean, we just had the case a couple months ago of James Edwards losing, where he was clearly legally in the right and should have won that. And I'm not sure exactly where Jared Taylor's suit is relative to Twitter at the moment. But yeah, when they have more money, they can just draw out the lawfare as long as they can to eventually swamp you. So Jared, were you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. What I was thinking before is, obviously, Countercurrents has a big audience that goes to its own site monthly. And then you have your social media presence. So what I was getting at before was essentially, I know there are pay-per-print publishers. I think Lulu is one of them. But I was curious about how much of your Amazon sales, if there's a way to track this, came from the discoverability of you popping up with recommended and people leaving reviews. That is what I was getting at. Seemed to be, from what I know, that not that I sell my own book on Amazon, but from what I know, that would be something that might boost up your sales. And the fact that, as you said, just people are there. But we need to fan this flame so that, as you were saying, the desire is there. And that's something Jason and I are trying to do. The desire is there so that even if we tell people next week, hey, guess what? Streamlabs we got kicked off of. Instead of doing an integrated super chat thing, we're just going to put a link to another way to support in the comments, and we'll find it and read your comments. Like, we'll work a way around it, but we need people to have the hunger so that if there is that extra click or two, it's still not going to stop that desire to support all of this.
Yeah, you kind of were breaking up there with a couple crucial things. So if my comments seem a little off, that's the explanation. Amazon, I've been an Amazon customer for 20 years. And because of their recommendations, because of their reviews, it's really been part of my intellectual life, my intellectual discovery process. And that is, that is being denied people when, in terms of our literature, that our stuff is being cut out of that process. And that's quite a blow. That's quite disturbing. It is going to reduce our reach. It's going to reduce our impact that way. Now, we can work around this and grow around it, and eventually I think we'll be okay. I am going to cut back on certain things. I just have to do that. That's the responsible thing to do as a businessman, to retrench and make sure that we get through this crisis. Countercurrents has never been a highly profitable business. We've I didn't create it as a nonprofit, but it turned out that way because, frankly, if we didn't have donations, we simply couldn't survive. So every year we've done a fundraising drive, and usually every year about half the money that comes in is from book sales and half the money it comes in is through donations. And Countercurrent supports 4 people full-time now. And I've just taken on a new person. And so it's especially upsetting that this is happening right at this time when we're transitioning into having another full-time person. Yeah, anyway, we will continue.
I'm sorry, just
I'm
saying.
sorry?
I'll just put that link in there again. I don't want to cut you off if you were still saying something, though.
Okay, yeah. So, but that's just the sum of it. So, yeah, the loss of the Amazon platform, its algorithms and so forth, will limit a lot of people. A lot of people will not discover my work and the work of other Countercurrents authors that way in the future. But the web is a big thing. It's bigger than Amazon. And if Amazon becomes an intellectually unsatisfying place for people who are seeking out our sorts of ideas, they will go elsewhere.
Yeah, I've been dubious on Amazon for a while. I became apparent to me a few years ago when they started doing original TV programming, producing TV shows, and with things like Transparent and The Man in the High Castle, I have tried to curtail as much as I can any purchasing on Amazon. Now, I know as someone publishing a book like you do many, and like Jason has, of course, if I published a book, I would have went to Amazon. I don't know what I'll do in the future, but I don't begrudge you guys that. But as a consumer, just so you guys know, and just so I'm giving the audience some ideas, I really try to steer clear of Amazon because you could see the anti-white messaging in their original programming. Jeff Bezos, also what he owns, the Washington Post. So not quite on our side either. So those are red flags to me from a while ago. I don't care about the convenience. I'll go to Barnes & Noble. I'm sure Barnes & Noble isn't run by people who love what we do either, but
Barnes & Noble hasn't deplatformed me, at least not yet.
Yeah.
We have some more super chats. Let me jump in really quick. Chuck Ford writing with $10. Jason's and Poseidon's new film, Tomorrow Belongs to Us. Message of Hope is excellent. Also, I am disheartened by the Shoa-ing by Streamlabs. Might we focus more effort to overcome the pay obstacle? We're always trying to get around the no platforming, and exactly that's what we're talking about here today with Greg, with the burning of his, because that's what this ultimately is. I mean, this censorship, that is the burning. They're going out and they're collecting the books, the material, the knowledge that you need to be able to defend yourselves, defend our people, come together as a people, and really form again a new people out of what has become this just sort of this ambiguous race now who doesn't care for each other, stuck on the hyper individualism and the like. Really just this coming together. So they're taking the knowledge and they're setting fire to it. That's what this is. This is not people often, it's unfortunate, they need to see like camps with emaciated bodies to think that something awful has happened. That does not need to be the visual to understand and appreciate that something significant is happening. If I'm sure there were people who at the foot of the mountain was at Pompeii, they saw it belching the different in obscure smokes and irregular smoke and irregular earthquakes, and they said, we better all get out of here. You all better leave, because they saw the signs, they saw the writing on the wall, but nobody listened. And then what ended up happening to them when the clouds swept over them and they were burned, incinerated in seconds. So this is what's happening here. When we are out in front and we are saying this is happening, and it doesn't immediately affect your life, it doesn't immediately affect your ability to go to McDonald's or buy the new bag or phone or what have you, it doesn't mean that this is not a significant change in the current of our society. It is a significant change in the current of our society. And because it is, I'm going to ask you all, because of the same exact thing is taking place when it comes to YouTube and Google, in that they throttle the shows that Jared and I do all of the time. So I'm going to ask you all, if you haven't already, please tweet, please gab, please post on Facebook, please post on Minds and any other social networking sites that you have that this show is taking place, that Greg Johnson's books are all being set to flame, that his ideas are being set to fire, are being incinerated by people like Jeff Bezos. Let's go ahead and put the sort of verbiage to it that the anti-whites would put to any similar act that we would take against them. They wouldn't say, well, they're just making these things unavailable, as I've seen some people write in tweets. Are you crazy? And this is not just making some books harder to get. This is about incinerating ideas that we need for our well-being. These are our victimizers that are taking these steps against us. And as I said a little bit earlier, we need to come together and defend our people, defend our community, this white positive community. And also, if you are friends with folks who are in the CivNat and the Conservative and the Republican Party, and reach out to them with this information, reach out to them with the passion that I have about this, reach out and tell them that they're next. Make sure they know that if they don't come to our defense in this case, if they don't come to help Greg in this hour of need, that they're going to be next. They'll just pick us off one at a time, and it'll become that much easier for them. So we have a super chat from Soko, $4.99, writing nothing, but thank you very much for that, Soko. Every penny counts. Elizabeth Duckworth, super chatting with $5. Can you buy book at Hastings, Greg?
I don't know. I don't even know what country Hastings is a chain in. Is it that in the UK? If they have a website, I think you could just search it. Or if they don't have an online presence, if they just have a brick and mortar store, most brick and mortar booksellers, if you walk in and ask them to order a book, they will do it for you. So
we have a
one way of
suggestion.
getting it. And frankly, I think that would be a nicer way of getting it than Amazon, because frankly, brick and mortar bookshops are dying because of Amazon. And that is one of the negative effects that Amazon.com has had on the book industry.
Well, we have a suggestion from the audience. Our friend of the show, Spartan Warrior Queen, has said that she actually recently ordered the book on wordery.com. So she wanted to make sure that that was communicated. And Survive the Jive is in the audience. Great to see him here. And he was talking about selling it directly. I do think Greg was speaking to that, and Countercurrents will be looking at all of their options.
Yeah, we sell all of our books directly. You can order all of our books directly. That might be the last place in the world where you can get them, but you'll always be able to get our books through Countercurrents. It's counter-currents.com. So come to us and we'll give you fast service. We can't get it to you in 2 days with free shipping. Only Jeff Bezos has that magic power. That's his superpower. But my superpowers are much weaker, I'm afraid.
No, they're much stronger where it counts. And Dainty Brighton, one of our moderators, is saying Hastings is in the American South, if I'm reading that correctly.
Is that right? I'm unaware.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've seen one, but I'm not sure. At any rate, I don't know. This is probably too late, but I was trying to do a little research about this, and I found a recent thread from February 1st about Vox Day. Now, he had a bit of a situation because his book cover looks similar to another science fiction book cover. It's not too similar of a situation, but it's interesting, and I'll put this in the chat. I found a thread where someone who says he worked at Amazon was mentioning that only someone who's on a catalog management team can delete anything from a catalog. So it had to be somebody. It couldn't have just been any old person working at Amazon if this guy is correct. It had to be somebody that's assigned to overseeing catalogs and is on teams clearly overseeing the Countercurrents catalog, has access to this, and is doing this.
That's a good thing to make a note of. There needs to be some kind of oversight and review of this process within Amazon if I can find the right person to do that. And it's a really interesting question how to do that. I just don't know. So are there any questions about this or any questions generally or related to this, I would be happy to just answer questions.
Yeah, let's get folks. If you have questions, please post them now. And we have a couple more super chats and one with a question. Blatant Arrogance, super chatting with $10. Thank you very much for that super chat. Didn't write anything. Chuck Ford back with $2 super chat. Thank you. Writes correction. Sorry, I meant the film. White Wellbeing. Thank you for that, Chuck. And Roy Danton, super chatting with $4.99. This is for Greg. I'm worried about the huge monopoly that they are building. Didn't we once have some antitrust laws against such huge empires? Is there anything we can do by way of these antitrust laws, Greg?
Well, yeah, we could do something with antitrust laws, but unfortunately, antitrust laws were creations of the progressive movement. It was a great time in American history, frankly. But antitrust laws are a creation of what was then the left and are generally enforced by people on the left. People on the left don't want antitrust laws now because people on the left control the corporations. And people on the right who are being censored by corporations, well, they have their minds controlled by the Koch brothers, basically. They have heads filled with free market talking points, and therefore they will not fight because, after all, it's private censorship. If the KGB were a private organization, they'd have nothing, no objection to it. Libertarians are utterly useless in this fight because the only objection a libertarian could have to total Jewish media domination is if the checks don't clear. That's the only basis for them to complain. Their worldview is simply incapable of seeing the real problems, which are the soft power, the problems of influence. It can be entirely legal from a libertarian point of view, but it is profoundly inimical to civilization, and that's just why libertarianism is useless. And of course, there will never be a libertarian society, but liberty points flourish and are allowed to exist because occasionally the left-wing oligarchy that rules us faces populist revolts that demand regulation, and then clean-cut, bright-eyed Paul Ryan types come forward with their free market talking points to argue against this. So I honestly don't see much hope of redress within the current system. The current political system is designed not to give the people what they want. The people want a socially conservative, economically interventionist society that will look out for real Americans, namely white Americans, especially protect the working and middle classes from the depredations of globalism. That's what the people want. The elites want something different. They want a socially liberal, neoliberal, global oligarchy. And they always get what they want, no matter which party gets into power. It's very unfortunate. Donald Trump had them scared for a while, but look at the way he governs. He gives the oligarchs what they want, tax cuts, but he doesn't give the people what they want, namely a future. We want a future, and that means we want controls on immigration. He won't give that to us because that's what the oligarchy does not want. He'll blame it on the Democrat. He blamed it on the Republicans for 2 years, why he couldn't get the wall. Now he'll blame it on the Democrats, but we will not get what we want.
Greg, Jared, unless you have something, did you have something? Go ahead.
Well, just following up, I mean, it's kind of a big ask, but I'm wondering if Greg has any thoughts on that old phrase of using the master's house to bring down the master, right? I know it's something from slavery, but we can adopt this as well, of using the internet. How do we work around this?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we can work around it because, believe me, if the establishment today, if the establishment that rules us 30 years ago were far-sighted enough to see what a thorn in its side the internet would become, they never would have let the genie out of the bottle.
Exactly.
They had so much power. when you had 3 television stations and a few news services, and basically the establishment rules us this way. They want us all isolated from one another, sitting at home in the dark, looking at a tube while they beam propaganda into our minds from a centralized point in New York or Los Angeles. That's ideal for them. When there was a proliferation of alternative media due to the internet, that was profoundly disturbing to their ability to control our minds. And the rise of social media, which allows people to network with one another without, network with one another and share ideas with one another that are not going through censor point, that was profoundly disturbing. And they're trying to get control over this, and they can't quite do it yet. And the reason they can't quite do it is that they'd have to shut the entire internet down to do it. And they can't shut the internet down because their lives are now dependent on it. And that's a terrible situation to be in. They're like heroin addicts at this point. They know that this thing, the World Wide Web, is going to kill them, but they can't go cold turkey on it. And so they're in a bad situation. Of course, there are plenty of heroin addicts who, they never go cold turkey. Most of them never, pull out, and they never survive. And I think that that's the situation that the establishment is on. Censorship will not stop us. It will only slow us down. The only way they can really stop us is by totally shutting down the web, because the web, it's not a centralized hub that beams state-approved or government-approved or corporate or ADL-approved propaganda into everybody's brain. It doesn't work that way. It has all these multiple hubs, and people are constantly creating new ways of interacting through it. And eventually there's going to be a new internet that is free of the choke points where all the censors are trying to concentrate right now. So they're not going to stop us. They're only going to slow us down.
And this kind of thing is galvanizing as well. I agree with you that we have to use this as like a fun PR thing. Every time this happens, like we had Liv from White Date on a few weeks ago. They put that video in limited state. I said, let's share it everywhere and say this is where they don't want you. She's trying to get more members on White Date, take it to this next level in her marketing. And it actually worked out well. We've had a lot of people sign up. We've been tracking it. We've been talking to Liv regularly since that episode. It was great to speak to her. And we had a lot of people coming through links that Jason and I shared. And the fact that it was forbidden fruit made people curious about what is going on with her site.
Let me jump in with some super chats because we have them coming in. The sheeple follow whom super chatting $10. Then they fight, then you win. Thank you very much for the super chat. Kuel27 super chatting with 10 euros 99 cents. Loved your book, Greg. Looking forward to meeting you at the Scanza Forum. Sin526 super chatting with $5. Greg, have you seen any content by Asha Logos yet? He shouted you out as a major influence on himself, and his content is exquisite. Check it out. And then we have Common Sense Counselor super chatting with $5. Show of support at Amazon headquarters, SPLC, PayPal. Can we get thousands of white nationalists to the streets? We need coordinated action. So we'll frame that as a question to Greg. Is it possible to get thousands of folks outside of any of these businesses? Would it matter?
I don't know if we can get thousands out. I'd love to think that could happen someday. It's sad. We could probably get thousands of people in the street if PayPal or Amazon, say, pulled a new book on the Kardashians or something like that. I think we could get thousands of people upset about that. I don't think we can get thousands of people upset about censoring the White Nationalist Manifesto and now 8 other titles by Countercurrents. I just don't think there are that many people, and they're going to get that upset. We should do some small demos, banner drops, stickers, a little street theater. I wish we had a lot more people involved in groups like Identity Europa that do classy, intelligent, low risk, high reward propaganda of the deed type activism that the identitarians in Europe do. I would love to see more of that happening. And yeah, it would be great if people would protest at Amazon headquarters or PayPal or Google or YouTube or whatever. I think that if people bring attention to this, then we'll win. And honestly, I am not fundamentally pessimistic. I do believe that these sorts of things can annoy us, they can slow us down and so forth. That's bad. There's no question about it. But in the long run, we're going to win. We're always going to be able to work around these things and grow around them. And the thing that's driving white racial consciousness is not my ability to sell Kindles at Amazon. That's what the censors think. They think that I'm some silver-tongued persuader out on the web selling my little Kindles at Amazon, and that's what's causing the failure of multiculturalism. That's delusional thinking on their part. The left is the major driver of the rise of white racial consciousness and national populism because multiculturalism doesn't work and is creating hell on earth for white people. They're the ones who are driving people in our direction, and they can shut us all down. They can get us all off the web, and there's still going to be people driven to these conclusions because of the failure of their system. We're out here to help them. We can deepen their understanding. We can try and direct it. But this consciousness is going to continue to rise until it is going to break the existing system and change it. So I'm fundamentally optimistic. I'm just annoyed. I'm annoyed that I can't do more creative stuff because I have to pick up it's like, some asshole, some SJW is interfering with my business, and I'm going to have to clean up their mess, right? I'm going to have to do that, and then I have to get back to work. But we have to, we knew that there would always be opposition. This is opposition, and this is to be overcome. And that's what we do. We overcome our opposition until we win.
Someone needs to make a catalog of all of these instances. As you were saying, life is waking people up, but this is a good addendum. All of this censorship will rouse people as well. You were speaking before about going to the Amazon headquarters. What can people do online? Do we have an email address yet that we've found that would be the most effective, or social media accounts for people to raise a fuss towards Amazon?
I should have come prepared with things like that. I haven't done it. I've been spending all day just trying to get answers from people at Amazon.
Well, anyone listening in the recording, will put it in the video description.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll make sure that information is there so that everybody knows exactly where to focus their energies. Let me read some super chats.
Yeah, and we'll share over social media as well. So listen out in the coming days, because we need to put the pressure on this week.
Yeah. You see, one of the great things about our movement, our scene, is its collective intelligence, right? You put a problem out and there are people who already know, and they can get the right stuff to you. And this is why I want to have this conversation. I want to get people thinking about this and working on it, and we will come up with great stuff. If you create memes, send them to me. I will tweet them. I will share them. I'll send you a free copy of the manifesto to thank you. I really would like to see this grow and become a big, fun fest of outrage. And again, it's very, very normie friendly outrage. The world's richest capitalist will sell you the Communist Manifesto, but the White Nationalist Manifesto is banned. Why is that? That is a great way of getting people to say, yeah, why is that? How does that work? So, the Unabomber can send package bombs that kill 3 people and injure 23 others, and his manifesto is available from Amazon.com. The White Nationalist Manifesto is not available. So that's interesting. So if you, excuse me, if you are in the UK and you want to complain, you go to you send your complaints to complaints@amazon.co.uk. So that just came in from our friend Millennial Woes. And if I'm sure that there's probably something complaints@amazon.com or amazon.de, or whatever the German word for complaints is. I wonder if German has a word for complaints. I'm sure it does. But anyway, yeah, you're not allowed to complain in Germany today, right? But surely there's an equivalent at all the different Amazon platforms, and somebody will find them and share them and start complaining. Today, I went to Amazon and I canceled all my outstanding orders. And for the reason of cancellation, there was just an other box that I clicked because they didn't want to know. But yeah, so Amazon is losing my business. I hope Amazon, they're driving away your business. And I hope they drive away more of it in the way of boycotts. But boycotts cannot change the behavior of an organization as big as Amazon. Boycotting it might feel good to you, and it would be good for people to get out of the habit of depending on Amazon. It would be good to get in the habit of going directly to rightist booksellers like Countercurrents. And believe me, we'll give you fast, friendly service. Every order of the White Nationalist Manifesto that's come in today, I have, as soon as it pops up, I personally go to get it underway. So yes, so boycott it, complain, whatever. And folks, I'm sure there are a million things that I'm not thinking of, but that you're thinking of out there. So share it. This is a great network when we communicate with one another and cooperate. We're so much stronger. This is what made the online alt-right such a formidable force in 2015 and 2016, before it took a wrong turn in 2017. So I think a lot of us want to recapture that old magic. We had some, the blood sports thing was fun at the beginning of last year, and we had a couple of good memes. It's okay to be white, but I think a lot of us are searching for something to, bring back that old feeling. Somebody needs to start a page on 4chan and 8chan about this, and get those brain trusts working on it. I'd love to see some memes coming out of there. So I'm in awe at the creativity and energy and enterprise of this thing of ours, whatever it is. And I would love to see it being used for me rather than against me. There are assholes out there who are trying to, use this against me. And, people in our own movement, our friends, are trying to, take me down a peg and so forth. I would rather this be used for Countercurrents and for the greater good to try and push back against some of this disgusting Orwellian, sinister electronic censorship.
Let me jump in with some super chats, brother. We have Adams with 398 Hong Kong dollars. Greg, appreciate discovering your work. Continue the good fight. Yes, we will overcome. Carl Rock, super chatting with $5. Trump's admin is mostly globalists. Thank you both for your super chats. Casual Cruising, super chatting with 20 Swedish krona. You should take a look into Casa Pound. Thank you very much for the comment and the super chat. Roy Danton back again with $4.99, writing, is there any chance of making donations to Countercurrents tax deductible? Keep that question in your mind, Greg. And finally, we have Mark Davis super chatting with $5 over there at Wolfpack. Had a show with him the other night. Mark, you didn't have to super chat. I was going to ask your question. And he writes, ask Greg. But I appreciate the super chat, by the way. But ask Greg if he's going to review the Lord of Chaos movie. Also, check out the Wolfpack on Radio Werewolf Network. We had Jason on this week's show. We did, and it was a fantastic show. Do go over there, and I will be mirroring the episode when it's put up onto YouTube. Mark's a good friend, runs a great show over there if you haven't seen it before. So thank you very much for that super chat, Mark Davis. So just to remind you, Greg, we have a question about, are you going to review the Lord of Chaos movie? And is there any chance of making donations to Counter Currents tax deductible?
Yeah, there are. We do have a Countercurrents Foundation. It's a 501c3 tax-deductible educational foundation. You can find out about that at counter-currents.com. Just go to the donate page, and there's information about that. We hardly ever get any tax-deductible donations to that foundation. People just make non-tax deductible donations for whatever reason. But yeah, we do have that option. So yes, thank you for asking about it. I don't even know about the Lords of Chaos movie. Is this based on the book by Moynihan and I forget the other guy's name? Is it Soderlund or something? I'll look into it. It sounds like an interesting project. So yeah, I'll take a look. I'm reviewing 2 movies a month for uns.com. You will have another. They will have another review by me out very soon. I'm writing a review of Glass. I went and saw that the other day. So anyway, so yeah. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer.
Gary, did you have something?
We had another super chat come in from Roy Danton for $9.99. Greg, do you have plans of doing on-demand printing of some titles, like for instance, Vitri Devi books that went out of stock, or the works of George Lincoln Rockwell?
Yeah, we're going to put all of our Savitri Devi things available from in print on demand. The ones that specifically the Gold in the Furnace went out of print. And it's just a matter of time, me getting the time to create a print-on-demand version, which will probably not be available at Amazon, because they also sent me an email saying that they've taken down and time rolls on the Savitri Devi interviews. So,
oh, God.
Oh yeah, they're being pretty systematic about it, and I'm sure there's a very open-minded person who's reading each and every one of these books all the way through Spencer Quinn's 500+ page White Like You novel. I'm sure a literary critic very scrupulously went through that and decided that this is not the kind of literature they want to sell. So yeah, that's down too. But we will have it available from the countercurrents.com site. So honestly, realistically, it's not going to happen until early summer at this point. I'm just too damn busy, and I'm going to be too damn busy trying to pick up the pieces of, for instance, getting all of our ebooks available directly at the Countercurrents site. That's going to be a bit of trouble. It's going to take a couple days work to get that all set up. A couple days work that I could be putting into writing a couple of essays, for instance, or moving forward on a couple of book projects.
Well, something that's positive, and I would like for you to speak to this because it's an uplifting thing. You and the work you do, Countercurrents, is making a difference. It's in the world. It's reaching people. Increasing numbers of our people are turning away from these corrupt anti-white institutions, and they're looking to people like you and purchasing your books. And so, is it fair to say that Countercurrents and your work has been on an upswing over the past year, 2 years now, that you're becoming more popular and doing increasingly? I mean, you brought more people. You mentioned you were able to bring more people on board. And in fact, isn't this the reason why now they're taking at least a significant part of the reason why they're taking a harder line on you and the work you're doing? Isn't this evidence that you're making a difference?
Yeah, I would like to interpret it that way. Definitely. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I'm definitely going to go with that. I think that I'm making a difference. Look, they're sort of working their way through all of us, and they have taken some people out of the game, basically. And now I guess they're going to turn their attention to me. And, I take that as a compliment. And again, they can make my life more difficult, but they can't stop me. So that's That's just the way it is. Victory delayed, but not denied.
Well, just as we had that question, Jason asked that question, Gabriela Gonzalez said, please tell Greg Johnson, excuse me, he has been extremely influential in my leaving the left and going full white nationalist. So people in our audience giving gratitude for Greg Johnson and the work he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a super chat. I gave this as an alternate because we were having a little trouble with Streamlabs. We'll look into that. But to mine, I gave it as an alternate Barbie Chan, or yeah, Barbie Chan, I guess. $5. Hail our people. Thanks, guys, for your hard work. Thank you for that.
Well, can I just add a little something?
Yes.
To the conversation. A little bit of new news has popped in.
Please.
This is from Henry Wolf at American Renaissance. This went out just went out to 2,000 people in the press. Amazon has long prided itself on a broad policy of not censoring books until now. In the last several days, it has banned print and Kindle editions of 4 books, either written or edited by race relations expert Jared Taylor. On February 24th, Amazon banned his book, White Identity. White Identity had 134 customer reviews and an average rating of 4.6 stars. It has been on sale since 2001. Today, Amazon banned Jared Taylor's collection of essays, If We Do Nothing, and 2 collections he edited, A Race Against Time and Face to Face with Race. In all cases, Amazon claimed the book's subject matter was in violation of our content guidelines, but did not explain why. There is no appeals process. On the same day it banned White Identity, Amazon also banned the White Nationalist Manifesto by Greg Johnson. Thanks for the shout out there, guys. I really appreciate that. So anyway, it goes on. It talks about how it continues to sell the bomb-making manual known as the Anarchist Cookbook, the Unabomber's Manifesto and Justifications of Terrorism by Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, and Hezbollah. It sells Black Nationalist Manifestos by Elijah Muhammad and Marcus Garvey and Louis Farrakhan. So anyway, and it goes on. Basically it makes a lot of the same points I made in my article, which I hope you'll link.
Yeah.
And we're entering a new phase in the struggle, and we are just going to have to work around this. So I would like people, I hate all these calls to unity, because no one ever makes a call for unity unless they want to unify everybody with their collar and their leash around their neck, doing what they want. But folks, let's come together and fight and push back against this digital censorship from Amazon, this book and digital censorship from Amazon. This is a really serious thing. And we might not be able to push back against it and successfully reverse it, but squawking about it and making reasonable demands and getting people interested in this outrage is in itself useful for our cause. And one of the time-tested, most effective ways of agitating in the political realm is to go to unjust, corrupt authorities with reasonable, sensible requests, and then let the world see these reasonable requests spat upon and discarded. That radicalizes people. That radicalizes people far more than the guy who wants to go from zero to the Fourth Reich, immediately, the kind of person who wants to go out there with a sandwich board, going full radical, right? Mm-hmm. Because most people won't go along with you. They won't go along with you that fast. They have to see that the system is illegitimate, and the way that the system delegitimizes itself is by refusing to listen to even moderate and radical demand, moderate and reasonable demands. Mm-hmm. And when they see that you can't deal with these people rationally, you can't bargain with them, you can't expect decency and reason and justice from them, then people's attitudes harden, and then you can take them another step. So this is very important. We need to get this right. We need to start telling people about this. Talk to your mom about it. Say, isn't it amazing that the world's richest capitalist will sell the Communist Manifesto but ban the White Nationalist Manifesto. Isn't that interesting? I think your mom might pause for a few seconds to think about that. Yeah, that is interesting. What would explain that? Well, we have explanations for this. And then, you know, the rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper. So this is a very useful thing. Even if we can't reverse this, the very fact that we can't reverse it and it's a fundamentally reasonable position that we take is very, very red pilling for people. It's very, very good as a technique of agit propaganda. And that's what we want to do. We want to agitate people. We want to red pill people. We want to radicalize people. YouTube has their anti-radicalization algorithms now. Amazon.com was a vast radicalization algorithm when you get right down to it, because if people had open minds and they were interested in certain topics and somebody bought a book that they're looking at, and you look down the page and you find that somebody else who bought that book also bought New Right, and they click on that, that's a radicalization algorithm. They're trying to undo that. But the very fact that they're trying to undo today is itself a thing that we can use as a tool of further radicalization.
Absolutely, I agree. Let me read some of these great super chats. We have Rambler91 super chatting with $5. American Literature for Christian Schools by Raymond A. St. John is also an excellent read that will help discover one's roots. One of the best books. Again, back Rambler91 super chatting with $5 again. Thank you very much for both super chats. British Literature for Christian Schools by PhD Ronald A. Horton is also an excellent read. Thank you very much for both of those recommendations and super chats. Sword Logic super chatting with $10 Canadian. From my few remaining shekels until a new job in 3 weeks. Spread the word about the Dissenter web app browser extension from Gab. Exercise free speech and take back the internet. I think Greg was talking a bit about this new internet, and that might be fun to speculate a bit about where we're going from here. Greg, real quickly, I will read Johnny Jones just super chatted $50. Thank you so much. We need an NRA organization for the First Amendment. Amen. We absolutely do. We'll put it right behind the NRA's building, and that way it'll be protected. But
the protection for the First Amendment is the Second Amendment, guys.
Yeah, precisely. So with this tomorrow, if you will, what might this new web look like? This new internet, this new field in which we're able to communicate our ideas in ways that become increasingly difficult for the anti-whites to attack nerve centers and undermine our operations, attack nerve centers and set us back. I mean, the fact that you were doing increasingly better, both with your personal performance and the performance of your organization, is clearly what drew their ire, clearly what drew their attention, and is what's causing this focus at this point. You're not being shut down. The anti-whites should know there's been no great victory here for them. Greg is merely going to be slowed up a little bit here, but he's going to continue apace. So what might, just pure speculation, I understand, what might this new environment look like?
Well, I know people who are very, very knowledgeable about fundamental changes in the structure of the internet that are going to be implementable in the near future. And honestly, what I would like to do is, I think we should do a chat about this, where we get one or two of these guys who are far more articulate about this to do it. I think that would be a really interesting show. And I'll be taking notes so that the next time you ask me or somebody asks me to say something about it, I'll actually have something articulate to say. So that's me avoiding a question based on the fact that I really can't articulate it as well as some of the people I know. And I don't want to say something wrong and seem foolish.
Well, I think it's actually the wise decision. It's impossible to model human ingenuity. So, folks, we don't exactly know the shape it's going to take. I mean, we can make a lot of guesses, but we don't exactly know the shape it's going to take. What matters is that we remain on a course that is rigid and iron when it comes to white well-being, but that we are pragmatic when it comes to how we achieve that objective, that we're able to move with the changing times. So, Jared, I think you were getting ready to say something.
Well, we just have messages coming in wanting to get to Greg that people are ordering the book as we're streaming right now. So a little bit of positive news there. And through my Streamlabs, which was put up as a secondary place, we have from Celtic Flame, a listener of the show, $2. Thank you for doing so beautifully with white well-being. Keep standing strong, shoulder to shoulder. Indeed, we will. Thank you, Celtic Flame.
Is just out of curiosity too, before we get back to the discussion, have people tried to donate on my Streamlabs? And we know we just had this article came out, and they are they were drawing people's attention to the fact, anti-white individuals' attention to the fact that money is coming in by the way of Streamlabs, and therefore I think a few people over the course of last night and this morning already lost their Streamlabs.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
I saw a message. I don't know how much we want to talk about it on air, but one person was saying they were having trouble with your Streamlabs. And folks, if that happens, if they take away both me and Jason's Streamlabs, there's other things we can do. To speak to what Greg was saying before, we'll have our mods put whatever we decide to do, and you just have to learn something a bit new. Maybe it'll take 1 or 2 more clicks, but please bear that in mind. We will find a way, but we need you guys to stay with us and just get over those hurdles. It's the energy, it's the will that's important. If we have that, we'll figure it out. We'll be able to keep doing this, keep doing more content. Jason and I have a lot of plans for 2019. So don't be discouraged. We will figure it out. But I don't want to say anything definitively. We will have to look into that, though. I did see someone having a glitch with your Streamlabs. I did get a message about that, and that's why I started putting mine as an alternative in there.
All right. Well, good. Thank you for that, and we will absolutely investigate that. Well, Greg, as we draw this conversation to a close, what I'd really like to find out from you is last thoughts, where you'll be going with this, what people will be seeing, some positive notes. I know you're going to be appearing some places, giving some discussions, and you're going to still be doing big things. This isn't the end of Greg Johnson and Countercurrents by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I surmise, the best answer to this sort of oppression, this sort of persecution that the anti-whites inflict on us is a joyous response by way of work, by way of effort, by way of getting the word out, so that every time they come to persecute us in one of these ways, every time they come to cut us off at the knees, what they get in response is greater energy, greater alacrity, greater enthusiasm for spreading the cause of white well-being. So, Greg, your thoughts?
Well, I have a very, very busy schedule lined up. I am going to be speaking at the end of March. I was in Vilnius, Lithuania. I gave a speech there at a Identitarian Youth Conference, and I took part in the Nationalist Torchlight March for the anniversary of the 101st anniversary of Lithuania's independence from the Russian Empire. And then the next weekend, Jared Taylor was also there. The following weekend, I was in Tallinn, Estonia, doing basically the same thing. And then I'm going to be speaking at the end of March at the Skansa Forum in Stockholm. That is going to be a huge event. Jared is going to be speaking. Millennial Woes will speak. Mark Collett is speaking. I will speak. This will be the largest and best ever. I know there's some people who are going to be eating their hearts out over that because they'd like it to fail. But the Antifa and some of their good friends in the book business are going to be eating their hearts out because it will not fail. Then the following weekend, I'm going to be with Jared Taylor again, and also Kevin McDonald and a all-star cast at the second Finnish Awakening Conference that's happening in Finland. In May, I'm going to be in Kiev, Ukraine for the launch of the Ukrainian language translation of the White Nationalist Manifesto. There's also a Polish translation of the White Nationalist Manifesto underway. The Swedish translation of the manifesto is almost done, and I hope will be in print by the Skansa Forum next month. And there are other translations underway. I have a translation into Polish of New Right versus Old Right I'm going to bring out. There's a Czech translation of that. I need to dust off and get into print. And on and on. There is a great interest in our ideas more broadly and my work very specifically in Central and Eastern Europe and Scandinavia. And so I'm very, very busy. In mid-May, I will be at the American Renaissance Conference. I'm going to bring about 300 copies of the manifesto, and I plan to sign and sell them all. So if you want to get the book signed, bring it along, or you can buy it there. So AmRen, I think this year is going to be great. Last year, there was a little bit of I think a depression in the turnout over 2017 because a lot of people were, I think, scared away post Charlottesville. And the security, though, at AmRen 2018 was amazing. And they're going to have the same level of security this year. And so it will be our park, our hotel. It'll be a safe, fun, discreet place where we can meet and raise our consciousness and raise our morale. So I'm going to be there as well. And there are many other plans on into the future that are a little more nebulous. I'm definitely going to be spending some time in Italy. Somebody asked about Casa Pound. I'm definitely going to visit Casa Pound in Rome. Those people are amazingly impressive. I'm going to be back in Ukraine sometime later in the year for a book fair that's being put together. And so it just goes on and on. There's a lot going on in our movement, a lot of interest, and I'm, this is my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I met William Pierce once in 2001. It was just after I defended my doctoral dissertation. And he said something to me that was very touching. He said he had a PhD in physics, and he loved science. And he said the hardest thing in the world for him was to give up science, but nothing compared to the freedom to speak his mind as he saw it every day for the rest of his life. And I thought, yeah, I like that ethos. That's the kind of life I want to lead too. And that's the life I am leading. And thank you all for helping me do it. Thank you for being friends and well-wishers and book buyers and readers of Countercurrents and donors to Countercurrents. You make it all possible. And I feel profoundly grateful to that. When I was the editor of the Occidental Quarterly, one of the things that made me sad, it really affected me, but it made me work all the harder, was some guy who was in a prison would, I don't know what he was getting paid. He was probably getting paid 40 cents an hour, to work in the prison laundry or something, would save up and send us donations. And, I'd look at this tiny check that might have been a week's work for this guy, and he would send it into the Occidental Quarterly. And I thought, my God, we need to make this go really, really far. We need to make this have some impact. Because comparatively, this guy was giving more than a lot of really wealthy people I knew. And we just have to, when there are people who are that devoted to this cause, we have to, match their devotion.
Hear, hear.
Oh, absolutely. Well said, Greg. Jared, your final thoughts.
I just want to direct people, if they haven't read the manifesto and want to hear a little more about it, of course, please go buy the book. Please check out the links we keep sharing, and they will be in the video description if you're watching after, of one of the most recent Countercurrents articles that talks a little about this situation, but then has all the fundraising material that they're starting a little early this year, given the situation. But if you want to hear a little more about the book, Greg has been our guest on the after party several times. This is not his first time here. And on September 22nd of last year of 2018, he was on discussing the White Nationalist Manifesto. We had a very rich talk with him where we were able to really dig deep for 2 hours. It's in my playlist and Jason's playlist on his channel as well. So if you're curious to hear a little more about the book, we did go into it in depth with him. But I just want to thank Greg. Greg, it's always great to speak to you. As I said at the beginning before we went on air, I wish it was in better circumstances, but what you just spoke to is something Jason and I speak a lot about as well. We know there are going to be ups and downs, and these are the moments when, if you can rally and get stronger and more excited, that is what makes all the difference. Because as our friend Mark Collette says, this is, of course, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So we have to pace ourselves that way.
Well said, brother. Where can they find you as well, Jared?
Well, everything for me goes through thegreatorder.com. Of course, I have a YouTube channel here as well. But if you remember one thing, thegreatorder.com has other material, all the ways to contact me, social media, all the ways to support. I have a fun announcement. I am coming out of my Wednesday cave, and I've freed up some time, and I will be rejoining the panel tomorrow on This Week on the Alt-Right. It should be a great show. So very excited about that. And then Verbo Tempestus, I'm on 8 o'clock Eastern time. Verbo Tempestus Thursday night on the Heel Turn Network. Some more exciting things coming down the pike, but we'll just leave it at that for now. Please, again, do visit Countercurrents, support Greg how you can. He's our focus today. And Greg, I want to thank you again for sharing your time with us. Wish you well, and I hope to speak again soon.
Thank you both. I really have enjoyed it. And yeah, let's do this regularly.
Yeah, maybe we could have an episode about, like Jason was saying, get like a real tech guy on and pick his brain about this parallel internet, because I don't know the details of that either, but I'm sure between the three of us, we could come up with some interesting questions for such a chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah. Well, Greg, it's been wonderful. Thank you for coming on with us. Again, I echo everything Jared said about wish the circumstances were better than these, but it is what it is. I mean, this is a real fight for white well-being. This isn't make-believe like a lot of things that people, occupy their time with. I mean, for God's sakes, there are still people who pretend like they are in Harry Potter world. So this is something. This is something that's real. This is something, and being something that's real, it will bring out the best in you if you allow it to. If you come to it with the right state of mind, the right spirit, the right energy, it will bring out more of you, more strength, more intelligence, more spirituality than you heretofore thought possible. And so we thank you all for being here. I thank all of the mods who were here today, who helped keep the chat healthy throughout the totality of the show. And we thank Greg, and we look forward to seeing you all again next time.